Hello everyone, I am Zazubaar, and welcome to my first solo video in like 3 fucking weeks. How you guys been doing? I apologize for the impromptu hiatus from producing normal solo videos, but, you know, life gets in the way sometimes. Sometimes life just leaves you drained of all sources of life and energy, and you just don't feel like getting in front of a camera and bullshitting about movies and shit, so I haven't been producing anything. But I am back today. And I thought that it would be appropriate to come back this week because I saw a movie over the weekend. Yeah, I actually went out to a movie theater and sat down, paid actually more like 23 because I took a person. I took someone with me. $23 plus snacks and shit, sat in a theater, watched previews, and then watched a movie, a full 2-hour film on the silver screen. Wow, it was quite the experience. This is the first movie I've seen in theaters since Pacific Rim, and just nothing that's come out in the intervening time really caught my eye. There was some stuff I thought about going out to see. I was thinking of seeing Elysium, The Wolverine, all that good stuff, but I just didn't have the energy for it. But I thought that, you know, I'm a big Marvel and superhero guy, so of course I have to see Thor: The Dark World in theaters. I just realized, did I even mention the movie I saw? I've been doing this weird thing lately where I'll like start to build up to something and then I get sidetracked, and then I come back to the topic thinking I've introduced it, and like the whole grandiose that I originally intended is completely destroyed. So now that I have completely derailed this video, what am I here to do? I am here to give my non-spoiler thoughts on Thor: The Dark World. So, I'm going to do non-spoiler because I don't want to rant about this movie for too long. I don't really have a ton to say. And it's been out for less than a week, so maybe not everyone has seen it, so I'll give you guys the chance and go check it out. But these are my non-spoiler thoughts. So, basically, Thor: The Dark World picks up not immediately, but soon after the Avengers. It's not very clear whether or not this picks... One thing that these Marvel movies have been doing that kind of annoys me is they don't make it clear how much time has passed in between each movie, because you've got 2 years in between the Avengers and Thor: The Dark World. But I have a feeling that it's less time than that. There's a passing mention in one scene in Thor: The Dark World where Kat Dennings' character, who I still fucking hate... We don't need, like, 15 different comic relief characters in this movie. I feel like really the only comic relief that you would need is fucking Loki. Loki is the pinnacle of comic relief, especially in the Avengers. He's still comic relief in this movie, though he's got some other stuff going on. Kat Dennings isn't funny, or at least she's not written in a funny way. I don't know if it's her fault, but she's not written funny. And her whole shtick with the fucking British dude, it's not funny. It's not funny. I'm sorry, Marvel. No. And she mentions in one scene that Thor has been gone from Earth, at least since his initial arrival, for 2 years. Now, Thor, the first one, came out in 2011. It came out the same year as Cap, so yeah, it was 2011. Which would be 2 years. All right, so that is accurate. But I don't think that I don't get the feeling that much time has passed. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. All right, it's no. Well, that's technically 2 years. Okay, I'm not doing the math. He's been gone for a sizable amount of time, at least a noticeable amount of time. I just wish that the Marvel movies would be a little bit more clear on how much time has passed in their own universe. I know why they don't do it, because it fucks with, like, you know, it can fuck with your story if you're following real time, because then it's like, oh, a lot of time has passed when that happened and this happened, when these Marvel movies are in a very tight continuity and setting each other up. So I totally get that. I think it's a good move. Here's the thing, though, and also why they can't do it where it's like, they'll set the movie in the current day, and then the next one, they want it to take place like a month later. So then technically that movie is taking place, like, let's say Avengers took place in 2012, which it does. And then Thor, wait, was it 2012? Yeah, it was 2012. Wait, was it? Oh my god. I can't even remember now. Avengers came out at some point. Yeah, it was 2012. I have got my years fucked up. The Avengers take place in 2012. And Thor the Dark World, let's say, wanted to take place like 3 months later. Then that means the movie would be taking place in the past, which would be awkward. So it makes a lot more sense to just kind of not even acknowledge time. So at the end of the day, while it does kind of annoy me how it's not clear how much time has passed, I only say that because you don't get a great scope of how long it's been since these people have seen each other. And it's a big deal in this case because, you know, a lot of stuff is being picked up upon from the Avengers in the previous Thor movie. So, I don't know. It's much more of a problem in some of the other movies. Like, I thought it was kind of a problem in Iron Man 3. But it's as big of a deal here because they give you a sense that years have passed since the last time they saw each other. It's just a little bit unclear. Anyway, not really that important. So, Thor the Dark World, what did I think of it? I enjoyed it. I don't know if I liked it more than Iron Man 3. I definitely liked it more than than the original Thor. But I'm just a bigger Iron Man fan than I am a Thor guy, so I don't know if it's just the character being there that makes me like Iron Man 3 a little bit more, or at least want to watch it more. At the end of the day, I think Thor the Dark World is much more successful at what it set out to do. In that Thor the Dark World, it's trying to be a big, huge sci-fi fantasy extravaganza while also developing these characters from the previous film and more setting up this world. So, in that regard, it succeeds almost perfectly. It's a great, great action movie. The story is well crafted for what it's trying to do. The characters are spot on. They're where they need to. They are where they need to be in this universe. And I feel like the writing is in an appropriate. It's just good action movie writing, and there's nothing like good action movie writing. It's the most beautiful thing in the world to me. Because you got these huge fucking set pieces and this explosions and shit going on, but still at the end of the day, those characters are still what makes this universe feel complete. And there's some really good action movie writing in this movie. And just some good writing in general, just some good character writing. There's a scene where Thor is talking to Lady Sif, who's a character from the comics, and just this conversation was very, very, I don't know, I liked it. It was just like, it felt very warm. And I always like, whenever I get a warm feeling from an action movie, I know that that's a good feeling. So I definitely got attached to these characters. Thor is fucking fantastic in this movie. I think that Chris Hemsworth is just as good as Thor as Robert Downey Jr. is as Iron Man. Now, I know some people out there are going to be like, oh, he's not as good as Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is God. Now, while that is true, Iron Man is just inherently a little bit of a more complicated character, but I think in terms of making the character likable and more so bringing the character from the comics to life, Chris Hemsworth does a spectacular job at making Thor come to life on the big screen. Because if you read Thor in the comics, the dude is just like, you know, he's one of the most unrelatable characters in comics, I find, because it's like, he's this god, he talks weird, he's from another dimension and shit. So, to make me care about a character like that, and make me relate to a character like that, that's pretty impressive. And Chris Hemsworth and the writing of Thor the Dark World was very successful at that. And I think even superior to the original. And for the most part, talking about performance, the performances all around were spot on. Again, especially the stuff on Asgard. Now, that's another thing that a lot of people bitched about with the first Thor movie, and I totally agreed. Why does it gotta take place on Earth? Who the fuck cares? We don't need to see Thor on Earth and fucking dealing with real world problems. We want to see Thor swinging his hammer, beating the shit out of monsters. We don't want to see him, like, eating at Denny's. That's not cool. That's not fun. We want to see the fantasy, and Thor, the original, was just like, it just had a lack in, like, imagination, and And it was just because of screen time. It wasn't the writer. It wasn't the production team's fault in that they didn't craft an interesting world. It was just like they put the focus in the wrong place. And Thor: The Dark World is very smart about. Everyone complained about how there was very little Asgard in the first movie. Good call. Let's set the whole thing on Asgard in this movie. Now, it's not all on Asgard, but Asgard constitutes about 80% of the movie. And Earth is a very, very small portion. Now, you've got to have Earth because that's where the Avengers universe lies. So you've got to have Earth in there. And the final action scene takes place on Earth. Kind of. Here is the genius of Thor: The Dark World. If you're going to set a Thor movie, at least partially on Earth, you need to give a damn good explanation why Thor needs to go to Earth and why his business lies there. And the only reason it would is if Asgard... if these different dimensions and shit are affecting Earth, and that's exactly what's going on in this movie. There's these wormholes, these rifts in time and space that are allowing the different dimensions, Asgard being one of them, Jotunheim, all this stuff, flowing into each other. And the Dark World is another one. So, it makes sense this time that Thor has to go to Earth, because that's where everything is kind of co-aligning. I mean, is that a little convenient? Of course, but... since it's called Midgard, it kind of makes sense that that's where everything is kind of co-aligning. I think they actually call it the convergence in the movie. So, they explain it enough where it makes sense in the context of the film. But again, the performances all around were great in this movie. Again, mainly the stuff on Asgard. Anthony Hopkins, everyone raved about him in the first movie. He's even better here. Partially due to a greater amount of screen time and a greater amount of character development, but he is just on fire in this movie. He is just an amazing presence. Now, I have yet to see a movie that I didn't like Anthony Hopkins in. Like, even movies that I wasn't crazy about, like the 2010 Wolfman, he's awesome in that movie. Just all the, I've never seen him give a bad performance. So... that's not a great testament to the quality of the movie overall, but let me just say, he does do a great job as Odin in this movie, and sells this guy as the king of all gods, the god of all gods, as it were. He just gets some amazing lines to deliver. He just kills it, man. He's great. Him and Chris Hemsworth have a great father-son chemistry, which you would think is not really something you would get, because Anthony Hopkins is this old school fucking, thespian actor. And here's this young, young guy who is an action star, and they have this amazing chemistry. You can definitely get the sense that they both have a passion for the material. And they just get their relationship down. It's not a super close father-son relationship, but that's what makes it interesting, is that they don't have the same worldviews, at least they don't anymore. So I thought that was really well done. Their chemistry was great. Really surprising performance in this film that I did not expect was Rene Russo as Thor's mother. She was fantastic. She didn't get a lot of screen time, but that was the point. She's a catalyst for a bunch of characters in the story. So, and I always love those characters that get other aspects of the story going. And I won't spoil why, but she's a big part of it, and she plays the character perfectly. Her and Anthony Hopkins are both, they don't get a lot of screen time together, but they both get to, their relationship is, you definitely buy their relationship. Which is important for what happens in the story. And even more so, she's just a great mother figure. I always love movies that really accurately depict mothers, because I love my mom, and I feel like a lot of times mothers in movies kind of get shortchanged as these control freak bitches. And in Thor: The Dark World, she's just a very real mother, which is shocking because she's a fucking god. So, it's really, really well done. She does fantastic, and her chemistry, especially with Tom Hiddleston as Loki, is just like, wow, that's great. They have a great, great scene together. I won't spoil what's going on in it, but they have an amazing scene together. which will bring us to Tom Hiddleston as Loki. What do I have to say about Tom Hiddleston as Loki? The dude just is Loki. He has fully embraced that he is that character. And to say anything about the quality of his performance is almost just not necessary. It's completely unnecessary. He just is Loki. Every scene he is in, he steals. And every time he speaks, you're just like, oh. He is definitely the Heath Ledger Joker of the Marvel movie universe. And I don't think that's overselling it or underselling the Joker. He just does fantastic in this, and he definitely fits that role well. Whenever he's on screen, you're like, oh my god. So that was really, really fantastic. He was just great as always. His character in this movie really, because here's the thing, they overachieved in this movie, because Loki in the movie you'd think would be, oh, everybody loves Loki now because of the Avengers, so we're going to put him in because that'll make us more money. And completely not why they did it. He has an amazing series of character moments in this film, and a seemingly, we don't know how this is going to go, seemingly complete and fascinating character arc. So to see that in a movie where he just had to speak and he would win over the hearts and minds of critics and audiences really impressed me, and I thought that he killed it as Loki again, and just the fact that he got a character arc in this movie was just really fantastic, and he did great. He plays the different levels of Loki very well, from the over-the-top god to the basic little brother of Thor. He just did great. Who else do I want to talk about? Aside from the big one that I haven't even mentioned yet, but we'll get to that. I guess I'll talk about the human characters now, since it's really kind of not... You really don't have to talk about Idris Elba and all the different Asgardians, because either they don't get a ton of screen time because they're not integral to what's going on, or they're just fantastic at what they're given. Idris Elba doesn't get a ton to do, but what he does say and what he does do is fantastic. And that's another fan-favorite character from these movies, and he's fucking great in what he does get to do. So yeah, that kind of rounds out the Asgardians. I guess I'll talk about the Earthlings just a little bit, because I don't have a lot to say about them, because thankfully in this movie they don't get a ton of screen time, and what they do get is either comic relief or integral to the plot. So, Natalie Portman as Jane Foster. She is basic action movie love interest. I'm sorry, guys. She is basic action movie love interest. I didn't like her in the first movie. I still don't like her here. She has nothing interesting to say, nothing interesting to do, and she's just there to fuck Thor. That's all she's there to do. So, I continue to be disappointed by her character. She's a good actress. I feel like she's being wasted here. They don't do her up to be that attractive in this movie, so it's like, in a meathead, dumbed down action movie language, at least, like, this is gonna make me sound really sexist. Alright, I'm gonna say this in the most non-sexist way possible. In a movie where you have Natalie Portman as the love interest of your protagonist, where she is not an interesting character first, she has nothing to do, she really doesn't do anything, at least she would be attractive, right? In a dumbed-down action movie world? She's good looking, she's not, like, drop-dead gorgeous. So it's not even like she has that going for her in this movie. Her character is just very boring, very plain. She has a lot of scenes of comedy, and I'm just like, I don't care, go back to Thor. And again, thankfully in this movie, it seems to be very self-aware that she's not interesting. Because they do everything possible to make it about the Asgardians and keep the Earthlings in the background. Unless they're integral to the plot, and when they are, they come to the forefront, and their boringness shines. I just don't care for Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, and I don't care for her characterization. I think you could do a lot more with this character, and they just haven't done it yet. She's just boring action movie love interest number 3. And now on to another action movie cliche, Kat Dennings. I think I talked about her at the beginning. Again, I just don't like her character. I don't like her performance. I don't like her writing. I don't like anything about her. I think her name is Darcy in the movie. I don't care. I don't like her character. She's stupid. She's generic, comic relief, modern day, socialite, teenager, even though she's not a teenager. At least young adult, number 6. Very generic, not funny. Her scenes, I'm always just like, just stop. Let's go back to Thor. Didn't like her character, didn't like her performance, and I don't think I ever will. Dr. Selvig, he's fine. He gets some funny stuff to do. Unlike the other characters, he gets some very funny stuff to do. He has a very dry delivery, which is something that I like. His characterization from the Avengers is carried over here, where he seems haunted by something, but he's very not forthcoming with what it is. He's just a very enjoyable character. And I like that they pick up from the Avengers with him being kind of crazy after what Loki did to him. That's a great touch. Overall, I just thought it was a good move. He's probably the best part of the Earthling cast. Some other British dude in this, he's just there for comic relief. I don't care about him. I think his name is Ian. I don't know or care. He's barely in the movie. I'm not even going to mention him because he's not funny either. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, wait a minute. We missed a performance, didn't we? Alright, guys, let's get to the big one. Christopher fucking Eccleston as Malachite, the Dark Elf. Or is it Malekith? I'm going to say Malachite, because that sounds more badass. Malachite, the Dark Elf. Oh, God, when you cast Christopher Eccleston as a supervillain, you have my attention, sir. And God, did he have my attention in this movie. He was awesome. His delivery was earth-shattering. His line delivery was excellent. His look was fantastic. He looked great. Incredible CGI. Just overall, a great villain performance. He stole the show. Even when Loki was on screen, he took the screen away from Loki. Tom Hiddleston, you're a great actor, and Loki's awesome, but Malachite was just like, fuck you. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Alright, here's the thing. It's either Malekith or Malachite. I think it's Malekith, actually. I think Malachite is from one of the characters from the fucking That Guy with the Glasses reunion specials. Malekith, I'm going to say. Malekith sounds more appropriate. Malekith. Christopher Eccleston is great as him. Here's the thing. I think my biggest problem with Thor the Dark World is that unlike every other aspect of the movie, Malekith is kind of underdeveloped. He has good motivations for what he's trying to do, but I feel like he doesn't have enough screen time. He gets very little solo screen time. He has very little screen time with Thor, which is always a pet peeve with me. I hate it when supervillains and the superhero don't get a lot of dialogue together. It always pisses me off. And that's definitely something that factors in with this film. So that really annoyed me. I feel like I feel like his characterization was underdeveloped. I felt like there was so much going on in the story. There was so much going on with the Asgardians, specifically with Loki, with Earth, that his development and his performance got drastically overshadowed. I think that's easily the biggest problem with the movie. And if you're going to this movie just for Eccleston, like I was at first before I kind of saw the trailers and got into it, you're going to be very disappointed. Because again, he's fantastic. He doesn't get a lot to say or do. But when he does, it is awesome. I just think that was a noticeable and definitely worthwhile saying problem. Because he's the main villain, he's the one driving the story, yet he seems underdeveloped to me. I think that was a very big missed opportunity. And at points, it kind of made the movie a little bit like, all right, this could be better. Just again, I think that was the big thing, was everything else was a drastic improvement over the original. The problem was that this one was like, all right, we're going to improve all this other stuff that carries over from the first one. And then the new aspect got lost in the shuffle. Malekith should be like the big thing that they should get right. And I think that he is probably the least well done part of it. I think that, except for the fucking Earthlings, they're probably, okay, they're the worst part of it, but I think that his underdevelopment is the most disappointing thing, and the thing that makes it, the thing that makes the movie the most, what's the word? The most subject to scrutiny, is that it's kind of a glaring flaw with it, that he seems very inconsequential at points. There's so much going on where it's like, oh yeah, we have a main villain, right? Again, he looks great, his performance is great, he just needed more screen time, and his character needed more development. What else did I want to touch on without getting into spoilers? You know, I think I'm actually going to leave it there. Because otherwise I'm going to start spoiling it, and I don't want to do that. So I think that's going to wrap it up for my thoughts on Thor: The Dark World. All in all, really liked this movie. I thought it was a more well-made movie, it succeeded much more what it set out to do than Iron Man 3. However, interestingly enough, my two biggest problems with both movies are fucking villain problems. So, again, Thor: The Dark World was drastically superior to Iron Man 3 in that department, let me tell you. So, you can go into it bearing that. So, again, I really enjoyed it. I do recommend seeing it. It is a fun time at the movies. Let me just say this. One of the best theater experiences I've had in a while. So I had a good time watching it, so I just love the crap out of it. So I think that's going to do it for my thoughts on Thor: The Dark World. Rating. I think I am going to give Thor: The Dark World, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I just thought it was very successful what it set out to do. I thought it was very entertaining. I thought there was just a lot of good stuff going on in the movie. So I just thought it was well done. Definitely check it out. It's a great action movie. It's just a great superhero flick. Great comic book movie. Go check it out. So I think that's going to do it for my thoughts on Thor: The Dark World. Thank you very much for watching. And be sure to check out some of our regularly scheduled Zazubaar audio/film production programming, including the Sons of Sarazawa podcast coming out every 2 weeks. The Demons from Outer Space podcast coming out every week. The second episode should be up by the time you hear this. And also be sure to check out a friend of Zazubaar Film Productions, and something that I have been a part of for a long time now. Check out Geeky Gentleman every week on Sid Partu's channel. Great show. I love being a part of it. We talk a lot about comics, so if you dug my thoughts on this, definitely check out that series. Be sure to check out all our friends of Zazubaar Film Productions, which you can see on my channel to the right under the League of Awesome People. So go check those out. Be sure to subscribe to all of them. But that's going to do it for this non-spoiler review of Thor: The Dark World. Thank you very much for watching. I am Zazubaar. And don't get caught up in the convergence.